Saying, Charan looked at Bree, who was sleeping like a baby on the bed. Madhu looked at him and Bree. Ammayi super ga undi. Manchi choice. Girl is a beautiful, good choice. Even I started liking her. Charan blushed in embarrassment after realizing Bree's relationship with his sister. Chinna pudinninchi naku nachinde niku nachutundi. Since childhood, you like everything I like, Madhu said in satire, mocking at him, and blushed. They both laughed finally after a long discussion and arguments. So what next? Madhu asked after a while. Honestly, I don't know what next. Even I need time to think over it, Charan said. Charan and Madhu chatted for a while, thinking and discussing their future strategy on her marriage. Charan was sad with the thought that Madhu would be staying away from all of them forever. Madhu also got upset with that thought. She loved everyone in her home, but her heart loved Bree more than anyone in the world. She wondered how come a stranger took the place in her heart in just few weeks and became more important than any of her family members. And strangely, she was happy with that feeling. Seeing her silent, Charan cheered her up, saying, anyhow, if she had to marry that USA guy, then also she would have stayed with him over there. Madhu smiled, seeing his love for her. He also got angry at her for hiding her marriage after consoling her. After an hour, he got ready to go back home. While leaving, he saw Bree and smirked. She's gonna have a bad hangover tomorrow. If she drinks like this in the future, then your case is gone, he giggled, taunting Madhu. She patted him with fake anger and muttered, I'll handle her. After laughing, he looked at Madhu and Bree, knotting his eyebrow, wondering a thought that came into his mind. What? Madhu asked, looking at his expressions. You both sleep together? Oh my God, you two. Oh my God, I am the only single in the house now. Charan was amazed, holding his mouth. Madhu blushed to see his expressions on her love life. When he didn't stop uttering his funny words, she patted him and pushed him out of the room. Charan giggled at her act and walked out from the lobby of the hotel. Madhu came inside, smiling and blushing. After coming out to Charan and talking to him, she was relieved like a big mountain was taken off from her head. She laid beside Bree and mumbled, I am not gonna leave you ever. I love you, baby. And Peck kissed her lips. She felt awful for Bree, who risked herself in the pain and thought of losing her and sat drinking in an unknown town. Morning, Bree woke up, looked around and got scared as she saw herself in her night pajama in a new room, wondering where the hell she was. Madhu was sleeping covering her head under the bedsheet beside her. Bree couldn't recall the last night incident. She got terrified seeing someone sleeping next to her. She slowly moved her hand to open the cover and saw the face of the person who slept beside her with the shivering hand. The moment she saw the face of Madhu, she was relieved with a sigh. Closing her tears-filled eyes, and she fell on the bed. She was repented on her drinking habit. She understood Madhu got her to some other place as alcohol is not allowed in her home. She felt miserable, thinking how embarrassed she must have been last night due to her immaturity. She wondered how Madhu found her the previous day. She thought about the previous day and remembered some blackouts and scenes where she saw Madhu before her. She was so worried to lose Madhu that she didn't remember how many bottles she finished. Her head was banging in a hangover as predicted by Charan. She went to the balcony and wondered where the hell she was. She went to the washroom and got fresh and came out and stood still, looking at Madhu. Madhu was awake, and she was angrily staring at her, standing on the door of the washroom. Bree got embarrassed, looking at her angry face. She understood. Madhu's annoyance was natural, as she left home without informing her and drunk and fell unconscious in an unknown town. She knew if she would have been in her place, she would have reacted in the same way, or even worse, she would have slapped her. Bree looked here and there. Madhu went inside the washroom without talking to her. Bree sighed and sat on the chair. Within a while, room service came with a glass of lemon juice. Bree smiled as she understood Madhu had ordered that for her. She drank that in one sip as she was thirsty and wanted to get rid of a hangover. Madhu came out in a few minutes. Bree was quietly sitting on the bed. "I can explain," she mumbled. "I don't want to hear anything," Madhu said in an angry tone. Bree got up and hugged her. "I was scared. I was worried. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't think it will go like that. And I know you must have been worried for me too. I'm sorry," she said. "Worried? Do you have any idea how frightened I was?" Madhu said. "I know. Trust me. That thought of losing you was... I couldn't think of anything." Bree was explaining with pauses, and Madhu stopped her instantly and kissed her lips. "You will never lose me. I am always yours, in this life and all my lives. Remember, I promised this on our wedding day. I love you, baby. How could you even think that you will lose me with that stupid proposal?" Madhu mumbled, holding her face, looking into her eyes after kissing her. Bree's eyes filled with tears and she kissed her back, mumbling, "I love you." After a while, they got fresh and went home by calling a driver from Madhu's home. They didn't have to answer anybody in the home, as Charan had handled the situation well at home. The house was already empty, as all the relatives had left the house. Ladies called them for breakfast, but Madhu said they already ate in the hotel and need more time at home to finish their project. Her aunt assured her that no one will disturb them. Madhu closed the door. Bree sat holding her head, which was still banging with the pain. Madhu took out the tablet from her drawer and gave it to her. She sat holding her hand and gave her acupressure on her thumb and said, "This will give you fast relief." Bree looked at her, smiling. "You know what? You are really the best person. The patience and stable mind you have, I can't have that. I would have slapped you if you ever left my house like that," Bree said. Madhu smiled and slapped her slowly. Bree held her cheek and looked at her, wondering her sudden action. Madhu blushed and Bree smiled. "How did you find me? That stupid hotel didn't have a proper network on my cell," Bree asked. "I took the help of Charan. He has a friend in police and they traced your number," Madhu said, pressing her thumb with acupressure. Bree smiled, gazing at her, thinking how caring she is. Madhu looked cute while giving her acupressure. Bree held her and pulled her close and kissed her. Madhu blushed after her kiss. She was happy, as Bree was fine and happy. She didn't tell her about coming out. "By the way, I came out to Charan last night," Madhu mumbled, blushing and staring at her. "What?" Bree uttered. Bree got astonished hearing Madhu, and then Madhu narrated the entire story that happened the previous night. Bree felt awful for creating all the mess and not being with Madhu when she came out to her brother. "I promised you that I'll be with you all the time, and I couldn't when you needed me while taking such a daring step," Bree repented. Madhu smiled and held her hand to give her acupressure. Bree stopped her holding her hand. "I'm sorry, honey, for not being with you and not keeping my promise," she said, sadly looking down in a pang of guilt. "Hey, it's all right. Charan understood everything and he promised me that he will support me to convince everyone. Nothing to worry about it now. Let's forget all that and start afresh. Madhu cheered her, smiling. Now on, I promise I'll never create such a mess ever in life and always be there with you, Bree said, keeping her hand on Madhu's face. You are with me and I am with you, saying, Madhu pressed her hand and smiled. The same evening, Charan came with a plan. He asked Madhu and Bree not to disclose their relationship for the next 1.5 years. That is, until they finish their MS. Till that period, Charan will handle the proposals that come for Madhu and assured that no one will force Madhu for any proposals until then. He said they need to keep tight-lipped, as if anyone in the family comes to know about their relationship now, then they might not send her back to America. Bree liked that idea, and Madhu also agreed, since she didn't dare to come out to everyone that soon. They both visited Bhadrachalam as all the family members were going there after the wedding. Madhu and Bree prayed to God for their long and happy married life. Charan also prayed for their well-being. On the 31st night, Madhu and Bree took a journey back to the USA. Bree was on top of the world to take her love back with her. When they reached Boston, Bree asked Madhu to come and stay with her in her house permanently. But Madhu's heart didn't agree on the same, as she was already feeling guilty for hiding the truth of her marriage with her family. And if she stays with Bree, then they might ask questions on that, and she didn't wish to lie more to them. Bree understood her feelings and didn't force her. In their college, Neil and other friends got shocked to know about their relationship, but they all supported them and loved their pair. Nancy was discharged from hospital, and after a few days, Nancy took charge of the business. Nancy felt guilty for being rude to Madhu, but soft Madhu had no hard feelings for Nancy. The days passed, and Madhu visited Bree's house every weekend. Nancy was happy with her daughter's new life partner. Betty didn't like Bree's marriage with Madhu, but slowly she also melted on the caring and loving nature of Madhu. Everyone loved their cute pair and prayed for their long-time relationship. Madhu often felt sad for cheating on the feelings of her family, especially after talking to them. But Bree always cheered her up with her love. Days passed into weeks, months, and years. Soon, Madhu and Bree finished MS, and it was time for her to come back to India. Madhu's family already got lines of proposals for her, which were all kept on hold by Charan. Bree and Madhu both came to Hyderabad into her house, holding each other's hand. Her family welcomed them both, thinking Bree must have visited India for the last time to enjoy the tour of India, just like all foreigners come and see Taj Mahal and other spots and go back to their destiny. A day passed after their arrival, and Madhu decided to come out to everyone. Charan sighed with a signal and gathered everyone in the living room by sending all the servants out for an hour. Everyone in the family wondered what this brother-sister duo was up to and took a seat in the living room as guided by Charan. Madhu and Bree made a video on LGBTQ, explaining they are also normal like others, just with the same-sex choice in love life, and also explained how and why it happens. They also elaborated the existence and acceptance of LGBTQ in India for years, but colonial rules changed the law, and society started considering it a taboo, forgetting the centuries-old open-mindedness. Everyone saw the video and wondered why they are showing a video on this. Then Madhu and Bree came ahead and revealed their truth. Everyone in the family got shocked hearing them and started raising their voice on the poor couple about the thinking of relatives and society. Charan's mother uttered to Madhu, "We gave you so much freedom and you took advantage of that." Radhika, a sister-in-law of Madhu, worried. How will they face society? And slowly everyone, including the uncles of Madhu, said, "You ashamed us." Madhu's tears fell on the floor. She stood still, looking at the floor. Bree looked at her and held her hand to console her and said, "I'm sorry to interfere in between your talks. I don't understand your language, but I can understand your feelings. You all must be worried about facing the relatives and society, which is normal, and anyone would get worried and angry thinking about it. But beyond all these things, just ask yourselves. You pampered her with all the love because she was the first and only daughter of your family." Looking at Shiva, "Uncle, you didn't marry a second time so that your beloved daughter should not be suffered by any hate of a stepmother. Looking at all, you all provided her the warmth of a relationship to fulfill the space of her mother. You all together became her mother, no matter of your relationship with her. I know it all because she never stops praising your love, and she never missed her mother in the love of you all. And with this step, don't think that she doesn't love you all and care for your reputation in the society. Just for that, she came back to express her feelings with you all. Since she loves you back, I know one thing, you all want her happiness, and her happiness is with me. I love her the same way you all love her, or might be more than that. Because for me, Madhu is everything, and I always say, she is the only best thing that ever happened in my life, and I will treasure her all my life. We are sorry for getting married without your consent, but if you all don't accept our relationship, me and Madhu will never be happy. Maybe she will never come back with me. Just because I am a girl and your girl loves me, don't ruin our happiness." Bree ended with tears. Tears fell on the floor from Madhu's eyes as well. There was a silence. Most of them didn't understand her language, but they all understood her feelings. Charan translated everything she said. After a while, Tejashri came forward and kept her hand on Madhu's shoulder and said, "I don't know about others, but I support you both. I saw the sacrifices of my only sister just for this love, and I don't want my only sister-in-law and her love to suffer that pain and sacrifice." Chetan knew the story of his wife's sister. He kept quiet and supported Madhu and Bree silently. Vanilla knew LGBTQ love very well. After a while, she also came forward and supported Madhu and Bree. Charan took a charge and convinced all the men in the house, asking the only question that Madhu asked him when she came out to him. What if you all were forced to marry a man of your family's choice instead of a woman of your choice? Everyone kept quiet hearing that. His elder uncle argued a lot with Charan and shouted at Madhu. And then Shiva came forward and uttered, "I accept the love of my daughter and give her permission to live with her love." Hearing him out, everyone got shocked. He came to Madhu and held her hand and said, "When your mother was leaving us, she took one promise from me, that I will always keep you happy no matter what. And today, I am not accepting your relationship just for that promise, but for the love you both have for each other. It shows the honesty of your relationship. You both would have lived there forever, but you came back to us to convince us of the mistake you made. That shows your love and respect for us. And if we do not accept your love, then there will be no value for that respect." Hearing him, everyone shut their mouth. It took a few more arguments and convincing days for all others in the family to understand that special concept of love. Bree stayed in the hotel as she didn't wish to create more mess in the house. Madhu and Charan felt awful for keeping her in the hotel. But Charan didn't lose heart, and every day he tried hard to make everyone understand their love. Within a few days, slowly, everyone accepted the love of Madhu and Bree. They all went to their family deity and blessed their relationship. Nobody bothered about relatives and society for the first time. On the contrary, after a year, when Section 377 lifted by the Government of India, they all felt proud that they accepted their only daughter's love. Madhu went to the USA along with Bree and handled Bree's hotel business. After a year, she became confident and opened a small startup with Neil along with other Indian American friends. In the year 2019, Madhu achieved success in her company. She started sending 100% of her income to India to fund the government schools for the betterment of teaching, technology, and cleanliness, and also started an NGO with the help of her sisters-in-law, which provided free education to poor girls. Bree also sent a large amount for Madhu's mission. That is how Madhu's dream of helping girls in getting an education was also fulfilled. And thus, our loving couple Madhu and Bree, aka Brianna, never went short of love or romance, and they both lived happily ever after. To continue listening to this and other interesting stories, please tune into Pratilipi FM.